Today we are meeting a man who has been designing homes for over a decade. His name is Ronny. Thank you for having us today in your studio. Pleasure to see you again.
Nice to meet you too. Again.
Could you briefly share with us who you are and how you started working in interior design? And also please share with us the design trends of 2022.
Yeah, it's been a very exciting journey. We started initially into construction, so we're a combination design and build house, having a strong construction background from abroad and then bringing it into Hong Kong with our own construction teams that we then built up over the years, filtering them out over around 16 years. We have around 15 up to 25 professional trades working out full-time. And then we also have the design house in here where we then combine the softwares to execute the projects out there. We've been building in Hong Kong now for around 16 years, both construction and architectural and also design-wise. We've been doing full projects and we have our designated design team in here, and it's been a very exciting journey. Designing and building a lot of different sizes of homes, different usages, and seeing the trends over the years and changing and adapting our construction as we need to meet the demand and also
with how people live today.
Exactly.
So that takes us to today's topic.
Yeah.
Design trends of 2022. What are the trends today? What did you see? What did you notice in terms of changes between a few years ago and now?
Huge changes, and I would say at the moment, in the last 24 months, we have seen, and this word has probably been overused, multifunctional. Home is changed a lot from what it used to be. We're not just going home to sleep, we are going in, at least staying in the house or our home. Number one, to perhaps work in there, working from home, but also more importantly, looking forward to coming home. Home is where you feel to be home, and this is something our company specializes in from the beginning, creating homes, but we can see a lot of design changes now. People are now focusing more on wellness, we're focusing more on well-being, sleep, rest, recovery, but at the same time we also have this work from home trend, which is kind of brand new. But if you look up back in history, almost all old houses used to have libraries and studies in there. But the fact that we then grew and into urban centers and then starting to work in offices, that's changed a lot. Now it's nice to see that we're focusing back and bringing the work.
With COVID on top of that, so people are working from home more and more because not just because they want to, but because they have to.
Yes. So now we are seeing that, we need a designated study area and we really need to focus on being able to be fully productive at home. That kind of brings a bit of a clash in there because home is also supposed to be for resting and getting into the rhythm of sleeping, but at the same time we want to work now, so we need to be alert, we need to concentrate, we need bright lighting, which is opposite of what you need when you're going to bed. So nowadays we're seeing, you need a designated office space if you have the space, right?
If you don't have the space, how do you play? Do you use the lighting as you mentioned? Like you will use different types of lighting depending on the hour of the day or depending on your mood and or what you're doing to actually prepare yourself to what you actually have to do?
Exactly. Yeah, so what happens now is all the computer screens and phones, they have a lot of blue light, which is making you awake, and it's also easier to see and makes you concentrated, but it's the opposite of what you need before going to bed. So lighting is very important, the mood and the warmth of the light is very important. So now you can buy light fixtures that can then dim the mood and the lighting according to the time of the day, so you can then start to wind down in time. And what we're also trying to do is in the spaces that we have, that we can then try to segregate the study from, for example, the resting and sleeping place. Back in early days, a lot of times you would combine the study. You would always have a table in a bedroom. We're trying to move away from that. Another problem we have with home offices now is the space. Because most of the apartments in Hong Kong, they're quite tight on space. So how do we deal with having this urgency of spending time with family, right? Having dinners at home, having a dining table, but at the same time we don't have a space for another table for study. And at the same time we're not getting the exercise anymore because we're not traveling back and forth to work, we're not walking as much. Now right now we have a lockdown, we cannot work out anymore either. for some time, and that's been going on. So now we need to have this multifunctional space where we need a table. So this is where we then thought, why don't we have a stand-up, sit-down desk so you can at least stand up, so it's healthier. At the same time, we need a dining table, but that's height is lower. So we need to have a desk that moves, but we don't want it to look like a study desk either. So we have made our custom-made desk where we, for example, have a lift mechanism. We have a normal-looking table which can be used for dining table, put a tablecloth on it, have fine dining. You can stand up on it, have a proper professional office desk, and you can sit on it and work as a normal.
So with one piece of furniture, many different usages.
Exactly.
For just enjoying dinner or workstation, or as a coffee table with a friend.
Exactly. And that brings us into ergonomics. Ergonomics has become a very big part in recent times. So seats, chairs are very important. And again, talking about ergonomics, about standing up as well. Mm-hmm. Another area we're now bringing us into is back to the wellness and well-being of our humans and our innate urge to connect with nature. So we've seen a lot of trends where people are now focusing on their homes of bringing more greenery in there, bringing more plants in there. Before it was like we bring flowers because it's like wow, and it's yes, it looks good and big first impression, but after 2 or 3 days or 4 days, it's kind of starting to lose its impact. So plants are something that's nice because if they're green, they last longer. And this urge of having something, planting a seed and growing something, it's nice to look at.
And people don't have gardens in Hong Kong, so they basically bring the garden inside the home.
Yes, exactly. And this is something that's we're focusing more and more on. How can we bring this greenery into the house? How can we, for the houses that don't have a balcony, still see some greenery outside? Perhaps create some kind of metal fixtures that have some plants outside. Or where we have gardens, balconies, we can actually add some plants outside. And then something else we did recently is, because with plants comes natural lighting. And for the apartments that have the ability to create additional natural lighting, especially rooftops, we, for example, added skylights in the rooftop. And this is a project, architectural project that you can see here. We added a staircase. But normally when you do a standard staircase, you would have a hole in the ceiling, a circular hole. In this case, we applied to the building department to actually get a larger hole size, a square opening, to add a glass house on top of the structure. To support the load, obviously, we needed to get approval from the engineers, and we added structural beams at the bottom. So this brings in daylight from outside, and then also from the roof, and then also into the apartment. And in this particular case, the client wanted to do some gardening actually. So now you have gardening, which brings into herbs and other plantation that you can use for home consumption, which then again promotes more wellness and well-being at home by being able to cook at home. So now people are spending more time at home, spending time with family, promoting more cooking and household stuff, and at the same time bringing in offices. The usage has changed dramatically.
So would you say that people tend to go for open kitchens more or separate kitchens because the challenge for me is that people want to cook more, so they need a separate kitchen because they don't want all the smell to go everywhere, but at the same time it's a great place for all the family to connect.
Absolutely.
So how do people react to that? What do they prefer?
Yeah, this is a very interesting one because growing up in Norway as well, cooking's been a big part of the culture. Europe is very big as well. In Hong Kong, you end up with a little bit of trouble sometimes with the space, right? So generally speaking, open kitchens has been on the trend upwards. Now, the smell and the sort of heavy-duty usage of the kitchen does create some trouble. So there's a couple of ways around it. So construction-wise, we've added more ventilation. We add like an additional fan into the window. We would add additional extractor hoods that have stronger extraction capability and capacity. At the same time, where we have space, we have solved these problems by creating different zones in the kitchen if you have the space. So what we do is, if you have a slightly larger home, we can create 2 sections, sometimes 3. So at the back end, you might have, say, a house that has a helper's area, utility area, and then in the middle part, we have something what we call a wet kitchen. Wet kitchen is sort of where all the heavy-duty work happens: dishwashing, cleaning, heavy cooking with oil and smells, that kind of stuff. Then you got the dry kitchen, which is what you mentioned. Is the social part of the kitchen. It's where you hang out. It's where you serve. It's where you present. It's where you make prep. Like I love prepping, and it's nice to be in touch with the rest of the family members or friends that are out there while you're prepping, whether it's food or drinks. So this is one way to get around it. For smaller places, if you only have the option of having a main kitchen, we could separate it. And we can just have an optional opening or closing at the end of that kitchen.
So basically, if you have a big place, you have two kitchens, the dry kitchen and the butler kitchen, basically, that, as they call it in the US, I believe. And if you don't have a huge space, you just separate it and have one kitchen that you use for all purposes and with some flexibility.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other trends in 2022?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from going in from I would say maybe 4 or 5 years back, there was this sort of trend of having very hotel-like feel, very glassy, very glossy. Some people call it bling bling. More sort of hotel details, stronger reflective materials, a lot of strong sort of gold, silver colors. That's sort of all. In the last 2 years, we've seen trends where people are going towards more natural materials with more texture, materials with more deeper colors, slightly dimmed, earthy colors. Like reds that are kind of dimmed, greens that are dimmed, blue that are dimmed, like looking through a filter almost, right? And textures, rattan, rugs. We tend to use a lot of rollers when we paint as well. That creates a bit more texture on the walls, wallpapers as well. So again, bringing sort of more natural products.
And some coziness, maybe.
Exactly.
Because people stay at home longer, so they want to feel cozy.
Exactly. And then that brings us into other areas. For example, back in, say, 3-4 years ago, we would do more spotlights, we would do more architectural lighting. Last few years, we're going back to the origins. We're going back into floor lamps, we're going back into table lamps, we're going back into individual lighting that you can plug and play, and you can make your own little zones in the house, right? We're going back into a lot of different seating zones. Sometimes we'll have a bay window, for example, and in the bay window we would, in the past, we might have something that looks cool in the bay window as a display thing. Now people want to use the bay window more. They want to have some soft seating there, some cushion, some lighting, bit of texture. Again, trying to get that homely feel in there. Looking forward to going home to relax, recharge, and recover, and spend more time.
Another trend I've noticed since the beginning of COVID is people tend to want more outdoor space. So obviously for you as an interior designer, if there is no outdoor space, you cannot exactly create one, but that's something I can share as a property agent, is that more people ask me at least a balcony or ideally a terrace or a rooftop. Do you have any tricks for people who don't have that?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's a design trend that's showing up more and more in home renovations in Hong Kong. A lot of requests to bring in not only outdoor space, but also greenery and lighting. So the way we can deal with that is sometimes if you have no greenery outside through your window, you can actually create some kind of metal brackets where you can actually add some plants outside. That's the sort of the very quick way to do it. The other one which we've used a lot is windows, enlarging, of course. So with building department's approval and with our architects and engineers, we can actually lower the windows to bring in more light.
Always with buildings department approval. Remember, with his help, but always have an approval.
Absolutely. And it just takes a bit of time and planning, but it's possible. And then if you have a green view outside, then of course with your windows lowered, you have more skylight and more lighting, natural light coming in, as well as the view from the outside. And the other one, of course, if you have the space, like we mentioned earlier, you can actually, with a proper buildings department and a long approval process, you can actually create a skylight in the roof. Not only to get a staircase up to the outdoor area, but actually bring lighting inside as well.
So you get an easier access to your outdoor area, which you will then use more often because you have a direct access, and you bring more light in.
Correct. And the last one is, which is quite often forgotten, and I've used that in my home actually, which is basically when you have a balcony, although it's small, because balconies in Hong Kong tend to be quite small, and what you can do is you can really legally enlarge your indoor space. but you can bring your balcony doors further in. With a minor works approval, that's quite easy to do. And then what happens is your balcony gets larger, right? And that's bringing your outdoor space in as well. So that's quite popular, but not many people I've seen have used this that much.
Okay. Well, that's it for Ronnie's suggestions as trends for 2022. I've actually made another video showing Ronnie's project in Happy Valley with a home purchased by my client, where I'm showing the before and after the renovation. So you can click on that now to take a look. And also I'm going to put a link to his website, so you can get in touch directly with Ronnie for your projects. And that's it for today, and hopefully we will see you soon for another video with Ronnie. Thank you again, Ronnie.
Thank you.